Doctors won't tell you this, but a 1940s petroleum jelly trick your grandma used on her cracked heels works better than any $40 foot cream on the market today. And that's just hack number 1 of 43. Today, we are counting down all 43 of Grandma's most clever, time-tested Vaseline hacks that she swore by her entire life. And by the end of this video, you are going to wish someone had shared these with you decades ago. Let's get into it. Number 43. Squeaky Door Hinge Silencer. Grandma never called the handyman for a squeaky door. She just rubbed a generous amount of Vaseline directly onto the hinge pin and the surrounding metal parts, worked the door back and forth a few times to let the petroleum jelly coat every surface, and that squeak disappeared instantly. Vaseline works here because it acts as a thick lubricant that reduces the metal-on-metal friction causing the noise in the first place. And unlike oil, it does not drip or run down onto your floors. Number 42. Stuck Zipper Rescuer. When Grandma's winter coat zipper got completely jammed, she did not yank and pull and risk breaking it. She applied a small amount of Vaseline directly to the zipper teeth using her fingertip, worked it gently up and down the track, and the zipper glided smooth as silk within seconds. The petroleum jelly fills in microscopic gaps between the teeth and reduces friction so the zipper slider can move freely without catching. Number 41. Candle Drip Prevention. Before placing a candle in its holder, Grandma rubbed the base of the candle and the inside of the holder with a thin coat of Vaseline. This created a barrier that prevented wax from bonding to the holder, making cleanup after burning incredibly easy. Just wipe and the hardened wax slides right off because it never actually adhered to the surface beneath it. Number 40. Preventing paint from sticking to hardware. Whenever Grandma painted a room, she would dab Vaseline onto doorknobs, hinges, locks, and any other hardware she did not want to remove. The paint could not stick to the petroleum jelly-coated surface, and when she was finished, she simply wiped the hardware clean with a soft cloth, revealing perfectly protected metal underneath. Number 39. Preserving leather shoes and boots. Grandma applied a thin coat of Vaseline to leather shoes, work boots, and even leather belts using a soft cloth, buffed it in gently, and let it absorb overnight. The petroleum jelly penetrates into the leather fibers, restoring moisture and suppleness, while also creating a water-resistant barrier on the outside surface. It kept leather soft and crack-free through many tough winters. Number 38. Soothe Chapped Lips. Before fancy lip balms lined every checkout counter, Grandma kept Vaseline on her nightstand and applied a thin layer to her lips each night before sleeping. The petroleum jelly creates a seal over the lips that locks in existing moisture and shields the delicate skin from dry air, allowing the lips to heal and stay soft overnight. Number 37. Taming Unruly Eyebrows. Grandma had perfectly shaped eyebrows without any fancy product because she used a tiny dab of Vaseline applied with her fingertip, smoothed across each brow in the direction of growth. The thickness of the petroleum jelly holds individual hairs in place all day long, acting exactly like a brow gel does today, but at a fraction of the cost and with zero chemicals. Number 36. Preventing Rust on Garden Tools. Before storing her gardening tools for winter, Grandma wiped every metal surface, including blades, tines, and handles, with a cloth lightly coated in Vaseline. The petroleum jelly creates a moisture-blocking layer over the metal that prevents the oxidation process that causes rust from even beginning. Come spring, her tools were in perfect condition and ready to go. Number 35. Removing a stuck ring from your finger. When a ring became swollen onto Grandma's finger, she would apply a generous amount of Vaseline all around the ring and her knuckle, work it under the band as much as possible, and then gently twist the ring in a circular motion while slowly pulling. The lubrication reduces friction between the ring and skin dramatically, allowing even a tight swollen ring to slide off without pain. Number 34. Curing Dry Cuticles. Every Sunday evening, Grandma massaged a small amount of Vaseline into each of her cuticles and the skin surrounding her nails, then slipped on a pair of cotton gloves before bed. By morning, her cuticles were completely transformed. The occlusive nature of petroleum jelly traps moisture against the skin throughout the night, allowing deep hydration to occur in a way that a quick daytime application never quite achieves. Number 33. Fixing a stuck jar lid. When a glass jar lid refused to open, Grandma applied Vaseline around the rim and the threads of the lid. Let it sit for just a minute, then gripped with a cloth and twisted. The petroleum jelly worked its way into the tiny gap between the lid and jar, breaking any seal formed by dried food or liquid, and provided the lubrication needed to get the lid turning freely. Number 32. Protecting a baby's skin from diaper rash. Grandma was ahead of her time on this one. She applied a thick layer of Vaseline to a baby's bottom at every diaper change, creating a physical barrier between sensitive skin and the moisture and irritants trapped inside a wet diaper. The petroleum jelly does not absorb into skin and therefore stays in place as a true protective shield until the next diaper change. Number 31. Softening rough elbows overnight. Grandma would apply a thick coat of Vaseline to both elbows before bed, then rest her arms on an old towel she kept on her nightstand just for this purpose. The petroleum jelly works as an occlusive agent, trapping the skin's natural moisture and any water still remaining from washing, and over several nights of this treatment, even severely rough and dark elbow skin becomes dramatically softer. Number 30. Preventing chafing during long walks. Before going on long walks or doing extended physical work around the homestead, Grandma applied Vaseline to any areas prone to skin rubbing against skin or against fabric. The slippery nature of petroleum jelly eliminates friction almost entirely, which is the direct cause of chafing, making this one of the most practical physical comfort hacks she had in her entire collection. Number 29. Conditioning wooden cutting boards. Grandma rubbed Vaseline thoroughly into her wooden cutting boards and wooden spoon handles a few times each year. Let it sit overnight, then wiped away the excess the following morning. The petroleum jelly penetrates the wood grain and prevents it from drying out and cracking, extending the life of wooden kitchen items dramatically, while also reducing the absorption of food odors and bacteria into cracked surfaces. Number 28. Smoothing a stiff drawer. When a dresser or kitchen drawer started sticking and grinding, Grandma ran a finger loaded with Vaseline along all the wooden runner surfaces where the drawer made contact with the frame. The petroleum jelly immediately reduced the wood on wood friction that caused sticking, and because it does not evaporate the way liquid lubricants do, it stayed effective for a long period of time before needing reapplication. Number 27. Removing eye makeup gently. Before commercial makeup removers existed in every bathroom cabinet, Grandma used a small amount of Vaseline on a soft cotton cloth to gently dissolve and wipe away even the most stubborn eye makeup. The petroleum jelly breaks down the oils and waxes in makeup products without requiring any harsh rubbing, protecting the delicate thin skin around the eyes from the pulling and tugging that causes premature wrinkles over time. Number 26. Keeping a car battery from corroding. Grandma's husband swore by this one and she passed it down. After disconnecting the battery terminals, clean them thoroughly, then coat both terminals and cable connections with a thin layer of Vaseline before reattaching them. The petroleum jelly creates a barrier that prevents the chemical reaction between battery acid vapors and metal that causes corrosion buildup, keeping the connection clean and solid. Number 25. Healing small cuts and scrapes. Grandma reached for Vaseline on minor cuts and scrapes because it keeps the wound moist, which is exactly the environment needed for skin cells to migrate and close a wound efficiently. A thin layer applied over a clean small cut and covered with a bandage creates a moist healing environment and forms a physical barrier against bacteria and dirt entering the wound from the outside. Number 24. Softening paintbrushes left too long. When paintbrushes had dried stiff and seemed completely ruined, Grandma worked Vaseline thoroughly into the bristles, allowed them to sit overnight, and then washed them out with warm soapy water the following morning. The petroleum jelly penetrated between the individual bristles and softened the dried paint enough to loosen and release it during washing, saving what otherwise appeared to be hopelessly ruined brushes. Number 23. preventing blisters from new shoes. Before wearing brand new shoes for the first time, Grandma rubbed Vaseline onto any areas of her feet she knew would experience rubbing, including heels, the sides of toes, and the ball of the foot. By eliminating friction at the skin surface, the petroleum jelly prevents the repeated rubbing that causes fluid to build up between skin layers, which is exactly what a blister actually is. Number 22. Cleaning piano keys. Grandma cleaned yellowed ivory piano keys by applying a tiny amount of Vaseline with a soft cloth, using a gentle circular motion, then buffing clean with a dry cloth. The petroleum jelly lifted surface grime and provided a slight conditioning effect to the old ivory, brightening the appearance without damaging the material the way harsher chemical cleaners absolutely would have. Number 21. Keeping chrome fixtures shining. After polishing chrome bathroom fixtures, Grandma applied an extremely thin coat of Vaseline over the surface and buffed it in until invisible. This created a protective layer over the chrome that repelled water spots and fingerprints, meaning the fixtures stayed gleaming and clean, looking far longer between polishing sessions than they ever would have without this finishing step. Number 20. Treating dry, cracked heels. Now, this is one of Grandma's most famous and most beloved remedies of all. Every single night before bed, she would sit on the edge of her bed and wash her feet thoroughly, making sure to dry them completely. Then she would take a generous scoop of Vaseline and massage it deeply and firmly into every crack along her heels, working it into the deepest fissures she could find and coating the entire heel and surrounding skin in a thick, unbroken layer. Then she would slide on a pair of thick cotton socks and go to sleep. Here is why this works so incredibly well. The skin on the heel is some of the thickest and most moisture-resistant skin on the entire human body, which means it requires an extremely occlusive product to force hydration into it. Vaseline is one of the most occlusive substances available because its molecules are too large to evaporate or absorb quickly. When you seal it under a cotton sock, you create a warm, humid microenvironment directly against the skin all night long. The trapped moisture continuously softens the thick callus tissue, and the Vaseline prevents any of that moisture from escaping. Grandma said you needed patience and consistency, doing this every single night for at least 2 weeks, and the results would absolutely astonish you. Deep cracks would gradually fill in, the rough edges would soften and become smooth, and the painful splits that made every step uncomfortable would simply close and heal. She was completely right. Number 19. Protecting skin before dyeing hair at home. Before applying hair dye at home, Grandma applied a line of Vaseline along the hairline, around the ears, and across the back of the neck. The petroleum jelly creates a barrier that the dye cannot penetrate, so any drips or excess dye simply sits on top of the Vaseline and wipes away cleanly afterward, leaving no staining on the surrounding skin whatsoever. Number 18. Softening a leather baseball glove. Grandma's boys got new baseball gloves broken in with Vaseline applied generously to the entire inside and outside surface of the glove. Then the glove was folded around a baseball, wrapped tightly with rubber bands, and left overnight. The petroleum jelly softened the stiff new leather fibers rapidly, and by morning the glove had already formed a far more flexible and usable shape than before. Number 17. Getting rid of dry, flaky skin on shins and legs. Grandma applied Vaseline to damp legs immediately after stepping out of the bath while the skin still had moisture sitting on its surface. By applying an occlusive product immediately to damp skin rather than dry skin, you trap far more existing moisture against the skin surface, and the result is dramatically more effective hydration than applying any lotion to completely dry skin afterward. Number 16. Fixing a squeaky floorboard. For a squeaky floorboard, Grandma worked Vaseline down into the gap between the floorboards using a stiff card or thin tool, spreading it as far into the joint as possible. The petroleum jelly lubricates the wood surfaces that are rubbing against each other when pressure is applied, silencing the squeak without any nails or construction work needed, and it works on both hardwood and older softwood floors equally. Number 15. Keeping a thermometer sliding in smoothly. Before digital thermometers were common in every household, Grandma always applied a tiny amount of Vaseline to the tip of the traditional glass thermometer before use, particularly for young children. The lubrication made insertion far more comfortable for the child and reduced the risk of the thermometer slipping from a proper seal, ensuring a more accurate temperature reading every single time. Number 14. Preventing rust on cast iron after seasoning. After thoroughly washing and drying her beloved cast iron skillet, Grandma would apply an extremely thin coat of Vaseline to the outer bottom and sides of the pan, the parts not used for cooking, before storing it. This prevented any surface rust from forming on these exterior surfaces during storage, keeping the entire pan in pristine condition and extending the life of this precious kitchen tool. Number 13. Making perfume last longer on skin. Grandma dabbed a tiny amount of Vaseline onto pulse points, wrists, neck, and behind the ears before applying her perfume directly on top. The petroleum jelly gives the fragrance oil something to bind to and slows the rate at which it evaporates from the skin surface, meaning the scent lasts noticeably longer throughout the day than it ever would on bare, dry skin alone. Number 12. Apply to your underarms to prevent chafing and irritation. After bathing, coat each underarm lightly with Vaseline before getting dressed, especially on hot days or before physical activity. The smooth barrier reduces friction between your skin and fabric, which prevents the raw, burning irritation that develops from repeated rubbing throughout the day. Grandma knew this trick long before athletic chafing creams became a product category, and she never suffered through a hot summer day because of it. Number 11. Conditioning and shining houseplant leaves. Grandma wiped a tiny amount of Vaseline onto a soft cloth and then carefully cleaned the large leaves of her houseplants, particularly rubber plants and peace lilies. The petroleum jelly removed dust that was blocking sunlight from reaching the leaf surface and left a slight sheen that made the plants look extraordinarily healthy and vibrant. It also provides a very minor barrier against certain plant pests. Number 10. Preventing a shower curtain rod from rusting. Grandma applied a coat of Vaseline to the metal curtain rod before hanging it in the shower and reapplied it every few months. The petroleum jelly creates a moisture barrier that prevents the constant humid shower environment from reaching the metal surface and beginning the oxidation process. Shower curtain rods treated this way lasted dramatically longer than untreated ones. Number 9. Removing a stripped screw. When a screw head was stripped and her screwdriver kept slipping out, Grandma applied a small amount of Vaseline into the screw slot or cross pattern, then pressed her screwdriver firmly into it before turning. The petroleum jelly fills the worn grooves and creates just enough additional grip between the screwdriver tip and the damaged screw head to allow enough torque to finally get the stubborn screw moving. Number 8. Soothing sunburned skin. After a day in the garden left Grandma or anyone in her household with red sunburned skin, she would apply a gentle thin layer of Vaseline to the affected areas once the heat had cooled down slightly. Vaseline does not heal sunburn, but it seals in moisture and prevents the accelerated water loss that sunburned skin experiences, significantly reducing the painful tight dry feeling and preventing the skin from peeling as severely. Number 7. Preventing eyeglasses from fogging. Grandma had a trick for preventing her reading glasses from fogging up during cooking and canning in her warm kitchen. She rubbed a barely visible film of Vaseline onto both lenses, then buffed it off with a clean cloth until no residue was visible. The microscopic remaining film changes the surface tension of the glass so that water vapor does not condense into the light-scattering droplets that create fog. Number 6. Preserving photographs. Grandma stored precious family photographs by applying an almost invisible coating of Vaseline to each print using the softest cloth she owned, then buffing it completely clean until no residue remained visible. This left a protective layer on the photograph surface that helped prevent moisture damage, yellowing from environmental exposure, and the kind of surface scratching that occurs during handling and storage over many decades. Number 5. Removing a bandage without pain. When it was time to remove a bandage from a wound, Grandma never ripped it off quickly and painfully. Instead, she applied Vaseline generously around all edges of the bandage and worked it slowly under the adhesive edge. The petroleum jelly dissolves the bond between the adhesive and the skin surface, allowing even the stickiest bandage to peel away smoothly and completely painlessly with zero skin tearing. Number 4. Keeping mascara from smudging under the eyes. Before any of the fancy smudge-proof formulas available today, Grandma lightly applied Vaseline to the skin directly under her lower lashes using the very tip of her pinky finger. The petroleum jelly created a smooth, slippery surface that mascara and eyeliner could not adhere to. So any smudging simply did not happen, and the skin under the eye stayed perfectly clean throughout the entire day. Number 3. Softening rough, dry hands from housework and gardening. Every evening after finishing all her housework and garden chores, Grandma worked a generous amount of Vaseline into both hands, paying special attention to knuckles, fingertips, and any areas where the skin had cracked or split from repeated washing and outdoor work. She then put on her cotton gloves and went about her evening reading or needlework. The petroleum jelly's occlusive seal over the skin prevented all moisture loss overnight while simultaneously allowing the skin's own natural repair processes to work without interruption. And Grandma's hands, despite all the hard work they performed daily, remained remarkably soft and well-maintained throughout her entire life because of this simple, faithful nightly ritual. Number 2. Lubricating a stiff sewing machine needle and thread. Grandma ran her sewing thread through a small amount of Vaseline before threading her sewing machine or doing hand sewing, pulling the thread between 2 fingers with a tiny dab of petroleum jelly. The lubricated thread slid through fabric with dramatically less resistance, reduced the friction that caused thread to fray and break during sewing, and made pushing the needle through thick or dense fabrics considerably easier, saving enormous amounts of frustration during long sewing projects. Number 1. And the absolute number 1 of Grandma's most trusted Vaseline hacks of all time is the full-body overnight skin treatment. Before special occasions, Grandma would take a thorough warm bath. Then, while her skin was still slightly damp, she would apply Vaseline from the neck down to every single inch of her skin, working it in across her arms, legs, torso, elbows, knees, and especially her feet. Then she would put on her oldest long nightgown and her thickest socks and go straight to bed. By morning, the transformation was genuinely remarkable. Her skin would be deeply soft, completely smooth, and glowing in a way that no expensive cream or lotion could match, because no cream or lotion could create the completely sealed moisture environment that Vaseline created against the skin for an entire night.